Namaste. Good evening. This is Dr. Aparna. I am an Ayurvedic psychotherapist. I act as a catalyst and support your emotional healing journey. I am an emotional healing synergist. I am a medical writer and a passionate infopreneur. I speak on topics of Ayurveda and mental health. So I am on my pursuit of addressing, promoting, and propagating Ayurveda and psychotherapy globally. So, in the last session, we were discussing about narcissistic personality disorder. What are personality disorders and what is NPD? So, today we are going to discuss what is narcissism as a personality trait and what is narcissistic personality disorder. Yes, there is a difference. So, today we'll discuss what is narcissism as a personality trait. So, narcissism is a personality characteristic that is all that is defined by an inflated sense of self importance, a deep need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. So people with narcissistic tendencies, they often believe that they are superior to others and they deserve special treatment. They exaggerate their achievements and talents. So they expect constant praise and admiration from others, from colleagues, from partners, from relatives, etc. They have difficulty taking criticism and they may become defensive or angry when they are challenged. So they lack empathy and can be exploitative of others. So if we have to look into the example scenarios, a colleague who consistently takes credit for other people's work and belittles their contributions, that is an example of narcissistic behavior. So, if a friend constantly boasts about his or her achievements and expects to be the center of attention in every conversation, so, and then a parent constantly criticizes their child, and parent, maybe a father or a mother, refuses to acknowledge their successes. So it is also important for us, to remember that narcissism is a spectrum. That means it is a group of personality trait. So, and not everyone with narcissistic traits will have a full blown personality disorder. That means everyone who has narcissistic personality traits will not have to be a person, will not have narcissistic personality disorder, but every person who is diagnosed with a narcissistic personality disorder will definitely have a personality trait of narcissism. So, then what is narcissistic personality disorder? So, NPD is a mental health condition. So, this is usually, people with this have extreme and inflexible patterns of behaviors. So, because whatever it is, whatever we said above, they are not flexible. That means they do not accept their defeat. So, and these patterns significantly impair a person's ability to maintain healthy relationships and function in daily life. So, what is the difference is in the severity. So, narcissistic traits are generally less severe and pervasive than those associated with narcissistic personality disorder. So, a person who is diagnosed with a NPD, that is the disorder, he will have more severe narcissistic traits. And what the impact, there is a difference in the impact. So while narcissism can negatively impact relationships, NPD significantly impairs them. And people who have, it causes distress to both the individual and those around them. So it is, the impact is also severe, as compared to in NPD as compared to narcissism. So flexibility as well, people with narcissistic traits may be able to adjust to their behavior in certain situations, whereas individuals with NPD typically have difficulty changing their, ingrained patterns. So, for example, here, narcissism, a manager might occasionally brag about their accomplishments but still can be supportive and collaborative with their team. So, a manager can occasionally brag about his or her accomplishments but will be flexible in terms of being supportive and being collaborative. But in narcissistic personality disorder, a manager consistently takes credit of their team's work, so, and belittles their team members and refuses to accept responsibility for his or her own mistakes. So this creates a toxic work environment. So this is, the example. So while both narcissism and NPD, that is narcissistic personality disorder, they involve a inflated sense of self-importance and need for admiration, but they differ, as I said, in severity, in impact, and in flexibility. If we have to go further, narcissism as a personality trait, it could be like a tendency to be confident and self assured, sometimes bordering on ignorant arrogance. Sometimes they could be arrogant, that means overconfident and self assured and arrogant. And as I said, a desire for admiration and recognition for their achievements, and difficulty taking criticism, and a tendency to deflect blame, so to put blame on others, and a stronger focus on themselves than others, but still capable of empathy and healthy relationships under certain circumstances. Even if a person has narcissism as a personality trait, a stronger focus is on himself or herself other than others, but still they are a bit empathetic, and they can, manage relationships under, given circumstances. So, for example, so here let's presume there is a girl who enjoys being complimented on her work and appreciates recognition of her for her efforts. So we all love, but here there is a greater sense of self importance. We all love to get compliments for our work, or getting recognition for our efforts. But here it is, here it is way beyond. But here, at times, what happens is, in narcissism, as a personality trait, she acknowledges the contributions of others, and sometimes she is supportive of her colleagues. So, this is, narcissism as a personality trait. Another example, there is a guy who is confident in his public speaking skills and enjoys presenting it to large audiences, and at times he welcomes constructive criticism and uses to improve his performance. Even though he has a greater sense of self importance, he sometimes welcomes constructive criticism, and uses it to improve his performance. So this is narcissism as a personality trait. And one more example is, there is another girl, for example, enjoys always enjoys being the center of attraction, that means center of attention at social gatherings. She expects that all eyes should be on her, only on her. But here, in some cases, she also listens to others and also shows some sort of genuine interest in their lives as well. So this is narcissism as a personality trait. So it's the same what happens in narcissistic personality disorder. So here there is an extreme and inflexible sense of self-importance and superiority. Extreme sense of self-importance and superiority. They think that they are the only ones who are superior to others, and everybody is inferior to them. So they have a deep seated need for constant admiration and validation. They seek constant validation. They have lack of empathy and an inability to recognize the needs and feelings of others. So they have exploitative behavior towards others to achieve their own goals. They exploit others to achieve their goals. So they have a fragile self esteem. That means they cannot tolerate criticism or failure, that leads to anger and rage or humiliation. So they have a sense of distorted reality and difficulty taking responsibility for their own actions. So, here, if I have to give some examples, here a person, there is a man who believes that he is the most talented person in his field and expects everyone to acknowledge his genius. That means he wants everyone to believe he is the most talented person in his field and he is a genius. And he also belittles others efforts, and constantly criticizes anyone he perceives as a threat. He constantly criticizes that person who he feels are his opponents or competitors, and he feels that they are a threat to his profession. So this is one example. And the other example is, there is a woman who is obsessed with maintaining a perfect image and surrounds herself with people she considered high status. So this person is obsessed with maintaining a perfect image and high social status. So what happens is, this person only surrounds herself with people she considers high status. So she has no genuine friends and discards anyone who doesn't meet her expectations. So therefore she doesn't have any genuine friends, and she only discards or eliminates those people who don't meet her status expectations. So another example is, here there is a man who is hypersensitive to any perceived criticism. He can't hear any criticism about himself. So he reacts with rage and anger, and uh, you know he tries to manipulate and exploit others. So he plays a blame game here, and he cannot accept responsibility for his mistakes and blames others for his failures constantly. So these are the example for narcissistic personality disorder. There are also types of narcissistic personality disorder that we are going to discuss in the next session. So here, if I have to, talk about the key differences in the severity, The narcissistic trait is less severe and more flexible, but the NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, there is extreme severity and they are not flexible. So the impact is so the impact of narcissistic trait is it may negatively impact some relationship, but in NPD, it significantly impairs relationships and daily life. So, in the section of empathy, in if it is a narcissistic trait, there is some degree of possible empathy. But if it is an NPD, there is no empathy for others. So, self esteem, in the area of self esteem, is here as a narcissistic trait, they can be, confident, overconfident. But here, self esteem is very fragile and vulnerable. That means if somebody criticizes them, they become vulnerable and they get angry and they behave with rage. So, their confidence can be pulled anytime, so brought down. So behavior, in the behavior, in narcissistic personality as a trait, it can be adjusted in certain situations. But if it is NPD, it is, they cannot adjust. They have very much difficulty in changing their ingrained passion patterns. That means what they have in their mind, what they think once, that is the final, that's it. They cannot adjust to anything. So this is the difference between a narcissistic personality as a trait and narcissistic personality disorder. There is much, much more to talk about narcissistic personality disorder. We will discuss that in the next session. So, thanks for staying tuned and namaste.